everybody, I'm Vasel, and today we're taking a look at 6 different games here. Now, you know what? Often when I take a look at 6 games, they're all pretty dreadful, and I tell you to run away, but no, that's not the case here. Well, one's dreadful. But anyhow, let's take a look at all these games. We're going to go from smallest to the biggest ones down here. So here we go. First, we have Super Kawaii Pets. This is a game I was not expecting to enjoy at all because it's called Super Kawaii Pets. And then I looked and you're making the pets happy, and even my cold, stone-hearted heart thought, oh. Well, anyway, that doesn't matter though, is the game good? In this game you have animal cards who are all sad. And then you have different things to make the animal cards feel better here. These are the help cards. And then you have location cards. So you have 3 cards from each one. The animal cards are a double-sided deck that are available. On a player's turn, the first thing they do is you will draw 2 cards. You can draw any combination of cards here. You can even draw from the face-down deck if you want to. So maybe I would draw this card and then this card. Once you draw cards, you can play cards in front of you. So an animal card you can always play in front of you. You can just play an animal card straight up. Some animal cards give you a bonus, like this one here, for example, says when I play it, I can draw a green help card in my hand. Well, that's nice. So this one, if I played it, I could draw any card that's green. You can also help animals. You'll notice that the animals are sad or mad. This one just needs some medical care. So if I spend this card and discard it, I can flip them over, and now they are happy. And I mean, just keep an eye. Look, happy, happy, happy. Look at that sad panda. Happy, happy. Now, some of these cards at the end of the game are going to give you points for making them happy. 4 points for making the panda happy. But other reasons that you want happy animals is because you can also take one of these location cards if you have the right number of animals in front of you. So if I have a rabbit and a cat, and each of the animals has whatever, this is a rodent, I guess. If I have a rodent and a cat that are happy in front of me, I can take this location, I put those cards underneath it, it's worth a point, and I get to draw a blue card. And this one here is worth 4 points. And that's it. You can do those actions as many times as you want, but you can only draw 2 cards. And you will keep going until someone has 10 cards in front of them. And this is a mix of happy animals and locations. So basically, horizontal cards. And at that point, you just add up your points. You will lose a point for every sad animal that you have left, even if it's in your hand. And whoever has the most points is the winner. Okay, so here's the thing. Super Kawaii Pets is not a very complex game, but it is a pretty fun one. It's collect resources, use those resources to make pets happy, collect pets, use the pets to get the things. There's nothing particularly new in this game or inspired. And yet it's fast, it's fun, and the theme's going to appeal to almost everyone. I'm always happy to play a game like that. So on one hand, I can be like, hey, folks, you want to play Super Kawaii Pets? And some of them are like, why is it Kawaii? Did you say Hawaii? I'm like, you know what, it's about pets. And they're just going to have a fun time with it. It's easy, everyone likes making pets happy, but it also has some fun little combos. I'll take this pet, I'll play this one, that lets me pick up this card, then I play this pet, that lets me pick up this card, now I make this pet happy. I mean, they're not huge combos, but they're fun little combos, and I think this one is worthwhile. It's small, portable, and it appeals to anyone who likes animals. That is an 8 for me. Unrest is a game about the Empire, which if you hear the word Empire, you know it's evil. So you're going to resist it, except, well, not really. One of you is going to resist it. It's a 2-player game. One person's the resistance, the other is the Empire. Here's how it plays. In this game, one person is playing the Empire, the bad guys, and they're trying to keep these buildings, these districts around. The rebels are trying to take over 3 different districts. At the beginning of the game, you're always going to have this revolution card, and you'll have 3 other kind of missions that are out here. These are ways that the rebels can take over a district. The rebels have a deck of cards here with 4 different suits. Those suits go from 2 to 6. They also have 4 misdirection cards in here. So the way each round of the game works is the rebels are going to pick 2 adjacent districts. And these are the districts, this is the point of interest. This is the district that they're going after at this point in time. They're also going to be playing 3 cards, 2 face down and 1 face up. If they play a misdirection card, it's always got to be face down. So to play these cards here, now, they might be putting all 3 in the capital, they might be putting all 3 in the Ministry of Plenty. You don't know what's going to go where. Before they do anything, though, the person playing the Empire takes their 4 different chips here and they will pick 2 of them and do those actions. The actions are listed on a card. Surveil lets you reveal a card. Destroy lets you kill one of the cards. Reroute can send one card to another spot. Blockade, you can just basically say, nobody's going to this district this round. Now, once you use these 2, you can't use them next turn. Next turn, you need to use the other 2, and then they'll all get flipped back over. So that's what the Empire's doing. After they've done whatever they've done, the Rebel decides which cards go where. Now, if the Rebels ever get one of these in a district, like this says, the total upheaval value is 8 or more, and there's no disruption cards. So here, well, that's not very helpful. There's an intelligence here. So I would need to have upheaval cards in that spot. So maybe here I have these 2 cards in the spot with no disruption. Boom. Then the civil disobedience has taken over. This one's gone, removed from the game, and the Rebels have to get 3 of these to win the game. Now, this one card of every suit. Here, Intel's 4 more and Disruption's 4 more, but there's always Revolution, which means you have 21 points or more in one of the spots. Either way, the Rebels will draw 3 more cards from the top of the deck, and you'll keep going. If the Rebels run out of cards, you take one final turn, and if they haven't captured a third one, then the Empire wins. And that's how you play. Great components. Love the poker chips. Love the asymmetrical. I mean, this is asymmetrical to a T. Now, it's also weird. By what I mean weird is, there's a lot of thinkiness in this game. I'm not sure who has to think more. The Resistance is sitting there, and you're like, well, I don't have a lot of options. I'm picking 3 cards. I'm putting them between these 2 locations. I then watch my plans get wreaked havoc on by the Empire. I then put the cards out and hope that I do this. The Empire goes, I have 4 actions. I guess I'll pick 2 of them. I'm going to try to mess up the plans that they put out there. But I think they're bluffing. But that's the whole game. The game is that bluff when it comes. You can see the mission cards. And this is the sort of game that you're not going to do very well, I think, the first time, regardless of what side you play. I also think that it's easier for the Rebellion. Not that it's easier to win, but it's easier to understand what you're doing. You just look at those cards. The Empire has to figure out how to stop you. It feels balanced. If it feels, it almost tilts a little towards the Rebellion. And in fact, there's a rules variant where they have to take out the middle, the capital. But I think it's unique. It's interesting. I don't think it's going to have mass appeal, but it's one that I like a lot. I like this kind of concept of trying to outguess the other person, outbluff. It has a bit of playing cards with the different suits. You have to look at the missions and say, well, both these missions want this kind of card. So that's the kind of card I'm trying to kill. If I see it, it's gone. They haven't played any, so that face down one must be it. But is it misdirection? I don't know. That sort of thing is really interesting to me. So I like it a lot. So definitely, if you like this 2-player back and forth, it's 10 to 20 minutes. Interesting game. I think you'll enjoy Unrest. I give this one a 7 out of 10. 5 Wards is a game about, well, the 5 wards. I think it's New York here. This takes place during the time where everybody was fighting everybody there. It's a Victorian city. It doesn't say New York. It's just a Victorian city. Maybe it's England then. It's from Frown Clowns. Anyhow, in this game, you are a gang of thugs, and you want to control as many regions as you can. Here's how it plays. The board is split up into different districts here. You're going to have cards at the top. Each person's going to have a gang. Here's the Guerrilla Gang. You want to have the most thugs in a certain district at the end of the game. It will get you points. Also, these are resources. You have 3 different resources that you can use to bolster, bribe, and blast. And like I said, there's different gangs that you can be. And what's going to happen each round of the game is you're going to be rolling some dice and then taking turns in snake drafting these. And I go, then the next person, the next person, next person, then that person who goes last takes a die, and so on and so forth. You can use these dice to place discs on the matching spots up here. If you're sometimes a card says, hey, if you're the first person to put something, you get to put one in the middle. Sometimes it says, hey, if you put all the things on the locations, you get a third one for free. And so you're placing them up there. Or you can draw more tactics cards and or get more resources. At the end of a round, if there's a brawl card out, you're going to have a brawl, and everyone's going to be fighting in this. It's worth 1 point at the end of the game if you win. And the dice that you draft, so this brawl, for example, wants keys. And I've rolled a lot of keys, so drafting keys would be helpful, but also having cards with keys. You'll play these down, and whoever has the most wins the brawl, and they're going to get 2 people that can go anywhere. The rest of these people here are going to go to the district that it shows, or to one of the arrows. So this one's pointing to Westchester and to Northington. This one's pointing to Northington and Westchester. This one's pointing to Centerville and Southton, and it can even wrap around. However, the constable is always on one spot, and that's going to change each round of the game, and nobody can go to that spot. When you go to a spot, you're going to take your people and put them there. If you have the highest stack, then you'll go to the ward boss, which is worth extra points at the end of the game. You're trying to have the most in each area at the end of the game to get the points first, second, and third. However, constables can also show up in areas and reduce your people, but not if you're the ward boss. Now, the ward boss is basically the single highest stack. So let's say pink drops 3 people in here. So now red is not the highest stack anymore. So if red then brings in 4 people, they'll take the stack back. Not 2 people, because they don't add to the stack they already have. And whenever you go to a spot, you can spend resources. So I could pay a bomb to turn 2 into 3. I can pay money to turn 1 into 2. You can also move people, deploy your thugs to wherever the inspector is, or to remove one of every rival's thug from any ward you occupy. There's a few more rules, and like I said, there's tactic cards that you can do things like, hey, for your die selection, you can steal one already taken by a rival. Or to start or end your turn, move one of your thugs from a landmark to any unoccupied non-bonus space or an adjacent landmark, and so on and so forth. So you do that at the end of the game. When this deck runs out, it's a small deck of cards. Then you count up the points, and whoever has the most is the winner. There's a lot of things I like in this game. I like the components for the most part. I have a small problem with them. The dice are fantastic. The discs, the stacks of discs as you're moving them around, I don't love that in the regions. I especially don't particularly care for that the way they have, if you're a higher stack, then a higher stack has been previously, so you have multiple stacks in regions, they fall over. It's just messy, those stacks. But other than that, I do like the components. I think the art's fine. It fits the period there. The game, the idea of drafting the dice and putting tokens out is good. It's not always fair because some of those are like, hey, first player to put something there. You're like, well, I'm going first this round, so ha ha ha. There are ways to mitigate that. There are ways to do things, but you're putting stuff out and playing, and then it gets put out on the board. I have a couple issues in the game that keeps it from being good for me. It just misses it. This is a 6 out of 10 for me, 5 wards. One is the game feels a little longer than it should be, and it gets less interesting as it goes by, which is a problem. See, there's a certain point where people obviously control a region. Yeah, I could send constables there. I can try to mess up your region, but I don't know. And getting control of your own region, 2 points. Another problem I have with the game is there's too few points in the game. So you can mess up on a few things and you've lost. And I don't think the game is short enough for that. It says 60 minutes on here. It's definitely 60 minutes. Might be a little longer with 4 or more players. And I don't think there's enough interesting things going on. The brawls, I think they're really fun and interesting. You know, I have dice and cards and bluffing. But they're 1 point, which is a lot, I guess, in a game. But there's also too few of them over the course of the game. So this is a game that's almost there for me. There's a lot of cool aspects to it. I like the theme. I like the controlling of the different wards. But it just misses the mark of being something I want to play over and over again. So that's 5 wards. Evolution Another World, special edition here. So this is kind of an interesting one. Creatures don't die. So this is Evolution. You may have heard of Evolution, but you might not have. Evolution originally came from Crowd Games. And this little game, you probably haven't seen it, was picked up by North Star Publishing, who redid the game completely and made a line of Evolution games from North Star Games. This is the original game remade. So there's 2 games out there called Evolution. This is the original one redone. I think the North Star one is slightly better of a game, but this one has changed things because this one is no longer animals you heard of. Now we're talking about fantasy and magic and stuff like that. And your creatures don't die in this game. In the other game, you could get your creatures eaten. So let's take a look at how it plays. In this game, players are going to start with 1 creature in front of them. This is the back of the deck. You have all these cards here. But when you put it out there, it's a lizard. And on your turn, you can put another creature in front of you if you want to. You have a hand of 5 cards. But you also can add traits to creatures. So look, charming and flying, and caring and toxic, and long-tailed and many-eyed, flying and vengeful, and toxic and fearsome. So whatever one you want to add, let's say I want to do, I can put toxic on this creature. Now they're toxic. Later on, I might add flying. Later on, I might add long-tailed. You can have lots of traits on a creature. After you have done this, so you can add one new creature and you can add a trait. You don't have to do this, but then you have to activate one of your creatures. When you activate a creature, you can take energy here. There's a card that has energy. This Dormant Volcano has 10 energy if it's a 4-player game. Sometimes cards have energy at the top, which only some traits can get. So this card will be different each round. But you can take an energy. You can also attack someone else if you have an attack trait. So if I have an attack trait, let's say I have Vampire, for example. I can attack somebody else, and I can make them lose an energy if they have it. And if I do, I get an energy from the supply. Whenever you successfully attack someone, you'll get energy from the supply. And the reason you're doing all this is if you ever have 4 energy, then you will discard the creature and all its traits, and you'll transmute and take one of these transmute tokens. And if you get 3 of these, you win the game. Regardless, when you use someone to attack or whatever you might do, or if you can't do anything with them, you have to put a sleep token on them. When all creatures from all players have sleep tokens on them, the round ends, you'll draw more cards from this gigantic deck of cards. And I have some extra cards. There was like an extra special pack of more cards that are in the game. But you'll have all these cards, and you're going to continue and do the same thing. And you're just going to be adding traits and attacking back and forth until somebody wins. That's the game. This game is pretty quick. I was impressed. It's a 30-minute game, and it's just kind of silly fun. You're putting out all these different things. You're grabbing the resources. It's a much smaller game than it looks. You have all these big traits and creatures, and you're like, ah! But I'll take this, I'll take that, I'll take that. And you're basically trying to get your creatures done before other people. It lets you attack other players and hurt them slightly, but for the most part, attacking is just another way to get the energy so that you can then transmute your creatures to win the game. And that makes it pretty quick and simple. I like this. I don't think it's amazing, but it's a nice, solid, fun game with amazing artwork and production values. It's easy to play and teach. There's nice referencing cards in that show you all the special abilities. And once you play for a while, you kind of get them all memorized. So definitely worth your while. If you like the other Evolution game, I'm not sure that this one is going to make you think that it's better. It's definitely slightly less mean than that one, and if you've never heard of it, this is a good one to get into the series. So that's Evolution Another World for me. This one is a 7 out of 10. Okay, Dino Gardens. This is a game in which dinos are gardeners. It comes with some fantastic miniatures. Plant, grow, eat, die. Because there's an asteroid coming, I think. Anyway, here's how it plays. In this game, each person is going to be one of the dinosaurs here. You want to be Bruno, Bacchiosaurus, Gabby Galamines. I can't pronounce all of them. They each have a special power, like Dino Power knows how to swim. And Stanley, they get an extra card. So during stage 1. The game is going to be centered around these cards here. And you're going to be having 5 of them on turn 1. There's 3 phases in the game. There's the planting, the growing, and then the eating. And on your turn, you'll play a card. Hide top hat on any seed or plant, then move 3 spaces. Choose another dino to gain 10 under dino health meter, then move 3 spaces. Move 4 spaces or move all dinos home. Allergy season, you can't plant, touch, or fly over a dawn redwood this turn. Move 4 spaces. Lose 20 on your health meter, then move 3 spaces. So you have a health meter to keep track of your health when you don't want to be negative 50 or whatever. When you move, you're going to be planting seeds in the first turn. So you're basically just dropping seeds on the different spots that you move. That's because in phase 2, you're going to be growing, where you're going to, any seed that you're on, and then once you have the seeds out, you're going to be able to drop these down. You'll be able to turn them over and start growing them. Sorry, they grow this way. You'll seed them, and then they're going to grow. And then you're going to go around and eat the different plant spaces that you have to be. You have to step on all the spots on a single turn to get them. So some of them are dual. Some of them you have single ones out there. And they're all going to be worth amounts of points. Meanwhile, while doing all this, you can go into someone else's. I'm going into your spot. Now we fight. So here's how fighting works in this game. We're going to use a 10-sided die. The game gives you one 10-sided die. So on my turn, I'll roll this 3 times. So 6 plus 2 plus 5, that is 11, plus a bonus that I might have depending on my health. Let's say my health is 10, I'm plus 1, that's 12. Now my opponent will roll. They have 8, plus 3, 11, plus 4, 15, but they're minus 1, they're 13, they still win. Anyhow, whoever loses 10 on their health meter. They go home, and then the seed or plant will change hands. There's also a terrible T-Rex here. Can't be too terrible because he has his top hat. The top hat might get placed somewhere, and he'll go to it, and he'll fight somebody, and you'll roll the dice for him. And there's special powers, and I'm done. This game is really terrible. A lot of it has to do with that combat mechanism. First of all, it's super random. But what on earth? If you want to fight someone in a combat game, whoever thought rolling a 10-sided die 3 times in a row and adding it, which is a 3 to 30, spread, and then you get to add a bonus of 1 or 2. What kind of bonus? And the bonus goes to the person who won the last fight or is stronger initially. It's a terrible thing. But please provide more than 1 die then. It's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 every combat, and you can fight every turn. And you have to fight because you can just plant your own stuff, but why plant your own when you can just take over someone else's, which plants yours and makes them go down? I'll tell you why you won't do it, because combat is boring. This game, the rules are kind of weird, it's kind of iffy, and you're just kind of moving around, dropping stuff off. The special abilities don't seem balanced. The only good thing that gets this a 3 out of 10, by the way, is those are really cool dinosaur miniatures. Other than that, you definitely want to pass this one. In the back it says Ready, Set, Grow. It's Ready, Set, No. Super Snipers is a 2-player game in which you are both snipers taking out a target, but you don't want to hurt innocent people. This is mixed with a little bit of anime mixed with polyominoes. That's a weird mix. It's a weird style game. Here's how it plays. The rules for this game are not particularly complicated, but it's a little weird to teach. Each player is going to have one of these boards in front of them. You're also going to have 3 locations, and you can mess with the locations. You play 1, 2, 3 in a normal game, but let's say I'm playing against someone who's playing for the first time. I might play with location. I might let them play with locations 2, 3, and 4, or even 4, 5, and 6, because the higher number of the location, the easier it is to hide in that location. Each person's going to pick a character. The characters are going to come with special abilities that they're going to have next to the board, and these characters, they're all different, and they'll come with these tokens, and you're going to put one by each location, and some of them say miss, but one of them is going to show the location you're hiding. Now, the way this game works is first you have to figure out which place your opponent is hiding at. And once you've found it, you're going to be doing that by placing these polyomino tiles. And they're like focus, it's called. And so you're going to have these, they're going to be coming out in this line of sight, and you're going to be placing them one at a time. They start on the outside, and then the same color needs to attach to the same color. But eventually, you might do something that's going to completely surround, here we go, completely isolate, and I'm like, reveal, and oh no, that's miss. Okay, so I need to find them. Meanwhile, if I cover up these icons with the color that it shows on those icons, I'm going to get extra tiles from the bag. Eventually, I'm going to find the other person. At that point, I'm like, that's number 2 location. I put that location here on my main board. Now at this point, I got to be careful because there's innocents. So here's an innocent person, here's an innocent person, and here's the guilty person. So if I've gotten any extra tiles from bonuses, I can immediately start placing these on the board, following the same rules. You start from the outside, and after that, you have to be next to a color of the same type. But what I want to do is I want to isolate these innocents. Yay! But I have to isolate them from the outside of the board, so that was not necessarily a great one. Eventually, I'll completely isolate the innocents, and they're gone. Then I need to isolate the target. Once I've done that, boom, I've shot you, and I win that round. Now, winning a round means that I'm going to be 1 location less. It's going to be easier for you to find me in the next round. But the first person to shoot the other person 3 times is the winner. Now, I am just scratching on some of this stuff. There's also bonus tiles here and things that will let you move a piece you have, place a piece in a different spot. You get these tactical advantage. And then, like I said, you have special abilities on your cards. And these cards, sometimes they give you a special piece. I should also mention that each player has their own bag that they're pulling tiles from. So you have the same different tiles that you're pulling from the bag. But that's kind of the gist of the game, is first to figure out what location they're at. Then to figure out, once you get this location on the board, to isolate the innocents, and then put the target in there and hit them by placing these polyominoes. Now, you can do this in a turn-based structure, but there's also a timer where you can do this sort of thing in real time. And that is basically how the game works. Super Snipers is a very weird, unusual game for 2 players, but I think it's interesting enough to check it out. It actually says you can play it as solo too, but I look at it as a 2-player game. So it's kind of an interesting theme with the sniper. I guess you're taking out a bad person, but you're trying to take out the other sniper, who by very nature they're bad, which makes me good for taking out anyway. But it's with polyominoes. You get these and you're trying to place them in such a way. So there's a couple things. First of all, figuring out where your opponent is. Now, did they hide in the toughest spot for you to get, the one that has the most innocence, or did they pick a different one? I think it's the weakest part of the game, honestly. It just seems like it was added to have another little polyomino thing, because it's like, well, did they go to the hardest one? Did they go to an easy one? I don't know which one they went to. And in reality, it just feels very random. And the first person to find it has a huge advantage. And you start working on the other stuff as fast as you can, isolating the people down. And usually the first person to find the other person is going to win, but not always. And that keeps the game interesting. It really is kind of fun, isolating the innocents and doing the other, trying to use the special abilities. But if you go out of your way to use those special abilities, you might waste your time, and you should just straightforward put down the polyominoes. It's a fun theme. I think that the way the special ability cards are used and how you kind of have this focus and things that you can get, I feel like that's a little clunky in how the special abilities work, and I really wish they had included a couple characters who had really, really, really straightforward stuff and said, use these in your first game. Now, my girls really enjoyed this game, and they compared it a lot to Bullet Heart and Bullet Star, which is a game that is essentially like a Tetris-style game, but it's also shooting the other person. And it has that same kind of feel to it, right? It's a duel against someone else. It's about guns, essentially, but it's actually polyominoes. So that's a weird mix, especially with the anime theming to it, but that group is out there. Like I said, my daughters enjoyed it. I also enjoyed this one. I think it's really interesting. I don't think it's for everyone. Some people won't like the sniper theme, and some people won't like the polyominoes, but there's a lot going on. It has a neat setup and really cool components and everything. It's a little wonky to teach and learn, but once you understand the intricacies of the going back and forth and placing the tiles, it definitely stands out among other games that have come out this year. You know, if you say, name a game that came out this year that feels different and does something, try something new, I feel like Super Snipers, because yes, it has polyominoes, it has hidden movement and stuff, but it combines them in a unique way. Even the different colors are like environment and whatever, like, again, they're trying to add that theme of honing in, which I don't know that I need the theme more strongly in the game, but the way it works is pretty cool. So it's a good little production. I give this one a 7.5. Definitely one to check out. That's Super Snipers. And there you go, folks. 6 different games. 1, not worth your time. 1, that's okay. Some, 2 that are very unique and weird and unusual. 1, a nice reprint back in, and then a cute game for everybody. Definitely check them all out. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from The Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with The Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of The Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel.